and welcome to Force Tech Talk. This is number 5. Just firstly, like to say thank you to everybody who wished me happy birthday on the LinkedIn. So, didn't realise I had so many people in the industry that knew how old I was. It's a bit of a shock, really. But moving on. So again, this morning, following on from the last 2 or 3 podcasts we've had quite a few questions in. So I thought today I would put them to my panel here and see if we can get some sensible answers out of them.
Try.
You're going to try. Okay, so following on from last month, we talked about the long-time storage and assembly program that we've launched. Somebody has asked us, how long can we actually store product for?
It's a very complicated question, that. I mean, if you think semiconductor devices have only really been around for the past 50 years and certainly in very high volume production for less than that. So there are a number of industry guidelines that have done studies and research on how long a assembled package in plastic or even in ceramic form or even in wafer form can survive and still be good in after the correct sort of storage for 10, 20 years, 30 years. And the answer is we're not 100% sure, because there hasn't been enough time elapsed to really collect a lot of good data. But certainly everything that we know so far, you're talking 15 to 20 years is a very stable amount of time that a product can be stored for without any kind of degradation. If you store it in the right conditions to the industry guideline, you're putting it into a moisture barrier bag or similar, then putting it inside a cabinet such as the ones behind us that keep the product at a low humidity, stable temperature. And the nitrogen being pumped in means that it's an inert atmosphere, so there's no sort of intermetallic growths or issues with sort of corrosion on either the sort of metallization on the die itself or on the leads of a package of an assembled package.
Is that what they used to call whispering tin
Yeah,
whiskers?
yeah. So certainly with pure tin finish. That's why the military and defense industries use tin lead to prevent the growth of that. So it's something that's constantly evolving. They were constantly researching it, but certainly the 15 to 20 year mark is something that the industry is very, very sort of stable and happy with in the right storage conditions.
So that leads on to the second question from that was, do you take product out and sample it periodically?
Yes, we do. Yeah. So certainly you want to be taking product out and confirming that it's both visually and electrically functional. Depends on what kind of time frame. If you're building product out regularly for the customer, then that's of a lesser concern because you're doing your inline qualification and monitoring as the product leaves your facility and goes to the customer after assembly. But yeah, if it's a 10-year time frame before your next build, then it's very wise to be doing periodic monitoring and taking devices out and even assembling some if necessary to get some electrical results that you can ensure that the device hasn't degraded or the characteristics haven't changed at all as a result of the storage.
Do you think how normal is it for characteristics to change if you've got one wafer? Well, the characteristics could change from one wafer to another wafer, couldn't they?
There are some potential subtle differences, but it really depends on how good the sort of QA from the OEM who's actually manufacturing that product, and especially in today's high tech wafer manufacturing, you really don't get any kind of variance. But certainly between different revisions of the die or that kind of thing, then you're going to see variances. But that should have been accounted for before they went into storage and are sort of approved with a customer. But yeah, it is a risk. If die's stored very incorrectly, then it can certainly cause damage, and you have problem bonding it out, etc. So it is a pressing concern that needs to be monitored. And then that periodic review is something that we set with our customer, but we'd certainly recommend if it's a 10 or 15 year storage every but anywhere between 2 and 5 years, periodic monitoring seems sensible.
And we've got all the backup data as well, haven't we? So
yeah.
As part of AS9100, we've got all the reports and things.
Yes, and all the logs that we've had over the days that it's been in storage to show that it's not left industry guideline
I must admit, I came down the other day and I looked at the screen and it was just a flat line. And I actually thought about something completely different.
No, it's not dead.
No, I thought, the cabinets are dead. So the other question is, what type of chips can we store, Charlotte? What type of cups do you store for your customers?
In terms of packaged chips, we can store anything they ask us to, really. I mean, it's not for us to say, not for us to decide. A lot of my specific customers, I know Ben's are a bit different, will store in die form. Like they'll store wafers over an actual packaged chip, and they'll store the packages alongside that.
What's the major product line you're seeing with your customers?
Major product line in terms of manufacturers is manufacturers like TI, Xilinx, Analog Devices. Those are the ones at the moment that are the most popular. But yeah, in terms of packaged chips, I don't know if any of mine tend to be wafers.
Yeah, I mean, there's really, as you say, there's nothing that can't be stored, and there isn't a good case example for doing so. Obviously, a ceramic chip's hermetically sealed anyway, so there's no risk of moisture getting into the device cavity. But you still have concerns with corrosion on the gold, and again, we use gold plating to ensure that there isn't any long-term corrosion, but it's still a potential risk factor. And breakdowns in epoxy over many years and that kind of thing for internal materials. But yeah, mainly it's plastic devices you've got the concern with the moisture sensitivity of them, because
but we bake them before we store them, don't we?
Yes, we bake them before, and then if they are stored below the JEDEC guidelines call out for, I believe it's a 5% RH limit, and if they are held underneath that, then they're considered indefinite shelf life, and they don't need a rebake before they go out to a customer. So as long as you can prove that, then
do we hold? Sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about, but do we hold plastic in a different cabinet to the ceramics?
We do. It's a good question. Yeah. So these are nitrogen cabinets, and the nitrogen cabinets are predominantly aimed at storing dye, which gives you your sort of inert atmosphere that isn't going to cause any kind of intermetallic growth or metallic growth or damage in that way onto the wafer. But the interesting thing about dye is you don't want to store it too low of a humidity. At very low humidities, you actually get electrostatic buildup.
Okay.
Whereas if you're storing plastic devices or assembled devices, you actually want to store them in a very, very low humidity, because then it means that they not only do they have no risk of moisture getting into the device cavity, they don't have to go through a bake out prior to being assembled onto customer board. So it saves them time. We can ship them out and say that that they are already at the required humidity level and can just be assembled and reflowed onto the customer's board.
Oh, brilliant. And Charlotte, here's one for you. How has the world events affected supply?
Ooh, that's a complex one. I think obviously, unfortunately, everyone knows the state of the world that we live in at the moment. There's various conflicts going on, and a lot of which, the UK will aid in defence, will give certain defence systems to those conflicts. I think that's a massive impact. We're seeing projects that were quiet for a time now suddenly accelerated because the companies need to build them. They need to replenish our own supplies as well as supporting others that we've agreed to support. That's a massive one. I think this could be a podcast in itself, to be honest. This might be a future podcast to do. That's a massive one. I think investment as well. Again, we can talk about that in a whole podcast on its own. Investment, especially in the UK industry, is.
Maybe we should invite somebody from the MOD along.
Yeah, maybe we'll invite.
See what they've got to say about their lack
MOD.
of investment into the UK. And if anybody from the MOD is listening, we're happy to invite you over and have a chat about that. But for now, thank you everybody for listening. We'll be back with one more in June before we take our summer break. But keep the questions coming in and the comments, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for listening.